Over the last decade, LEGO Star Wars has released a pair of Mandalorian Starfighters in 2010 and 2021. However, with BO-KATAN'S recent appearance in The Mandalorian, and of course her minifigure in The Mandalorian Spider Tank, a very nice one at that, it kinda leaves you wanting a BO-KATAN'S Mandalorian Starfighter, which LEGO hasn't made yet, but Republic Bricks, who sponsored this video, has. He also sent me a special deal. By using the code M&R Summer Deal, you'll get an extra 15% off what already seems like a pretty good deal for some of the sets we're looking at today. He sent me some big plastic bags with some plastic inside, and we're going to take a look at two BO-KATAN'S Mandalorian Starfighters today. The first one we're going to take a look at is the smaller Playscale Gauntlet Fighter. This one has 602 pieces and costs $90. With code M&R Summer Deal on his website right now, you get an extra 15% off. So you get it for pretty close to the retail price on the LEGO model from 2021, which is kind of crazy for a custom set to come that close to LEGO's pricing from what I can tell. But anyway, the model overall looks pretty good. I'm really happy with the color palette, with the sand blue, the dark gray, the light gray, and the white. I think that's just a great combo of colors, and we're going to see that also on the UCS version in a moment. But as we key into some details here, you can see we've got the engine detail with a little bit of yellow thrust coming out of the back. We kind of have a rear turret there and another engine on the other side. The top of the wings don't really do anything, nor should they. The main body of the ship here is weak. All right, so this is a custom model, and obviously they're giving up a lot for the look here, and so things like this can pop off easily, but it does look really good. The cockpit also looks phenomenal, but it's also another area where pieces can kind of pop off easily, and now that I'm saying that, they don't want to pop off as easily. But that is 1000% the experience that you're paying for and should expect when it comes to custom models. You're paying for a really good look, not a really strong model. So a lot of parts just will feel flimsy in comparison to a LEGO set. Now, the bottom of this ship also looks pretty good. We've got landing gear integrated on the bottom. This is removable, and it's removable for a really good reason. Well, I guess anything on a LEGO set is removable if you try hard enough, so it is kind of funny that I say that. But he includes a stand for the $90 set here. And this is kind of like a mini UCS stand here, but it does something kind of silly to me for like a custom set. Like I said, you're paying for the look of the thing, not for the strength of the thing. And I think I've told Republic Bricks this many a times. His sets, I don't feel like play features really belong in a custom LEGO Star Wars set. Like someone trying to buy a play set, it's just not the same market of LEGO Star Wars fan when it comes to things like this. I mean, at least you can remove it, right? But I do find it silly that there is an intention to have spring-loaded shooters on a model as beautiful looking as this. It just detracts from the look for no reason. So that's absolutely something that if you do buy one of these, you take them off and you throw them away, and you don't think about them again. So the stand helps display the set way better than the landing gear could, and so we just want to attach it onto the bottom of the studs there, and it gives you a much more dynamic flying look for the Gauntlet Starfighter. And so you can have it this way, or you can flip it around, push the wings around the other way, and have it kind of flying like that. I think that's kind of my preferred look there. And like I said, just a much more dynamic look for your display. I've had it down here on my display for like a month or two now, and I think it looks really good like this. Now, of course, many people are going to want to compare this to the LEGO set from just 2 years ago because it's a very fair comparison. And there's a lot of similarities here because they borrowed a lot of the same design aspects. On the top of the wings, it's very similar. There are some small differences in some places, just different pieces placed on the top, and obviously the color palette is completely different, but they used a lot of the design, and that's kind of why I think the wings ended up looking so good to me, because it was something I already liked, and, you know, just doing more of the same is never going to be a bad thing. And there you can see those, you know, decrepit spring-loaded shooters on the side of the playset. Of course, it makes sense for LEGO, not so much for the Republic Bricks model. Now, the main difference between the two, of course, is going to be this cockpit area. It is really weak, but it is very good looking for the BO-KATAN version that Republic Bricks sells versus the Mandalorian Starfighter that LEGO sold just a couple of years ago. It's way more sturdy here, but this looks way better, and that is obviously the trade-off. But I still think the biggest separator between these two, and maybe it's something you would build for your LEGO model, is that it doesn't have the stand on the LEGO model. Like, LEGO's display for this Mando Starfighter is severely lacking. It doesn't have front landing gear, so it kind of just sags down. And if we pull the wings up on the Mando Starfighter, you can see the front end just still sags down because it lacks any landing gear. Versus if we take a look at the custom one, we can just pull it off the stand, reattach its landing gear on the bottom. So if we pull the wings up, it's the same system for the wings, like I said, because this whole build is basically the same except for a few aesthetic choices on the custom one. It doesn't break, which is nice. We'll find out on the UCS one that's a problem, but it just presents way better with the custom model to have that extra landing gear on the front. Like, it's something you could solve with a couple pieces on the Lego model, but for the prices, you know, they at least do deliver for Republic bricks, I would say. Now, obviously on the Lego one, you can fit a couple of minifigs in here. You probably experienced that for yourself, but you've also experienced these big gaps. That is something, of course, that the custom one does alleviate. But let's see what we're working with inside. A very tight cockpit indeed. It's tiled at the bottom, so you don't have to worry about your minifig legs getting stuck in there, and there is just enough room for one Bo-Katan minifigure and nothing else. It's a tight cockpit, but it will work. So when it comes to the smaller Bo-Katan fighter here, I think that it's a pretty good option if it's something you're looking for to display in your collection. I think it displays really good this way, and especially on the stand. Like I said, I've had it on my display for a while, and I really like having it back there, so if you're looking for something like this to display, this is a pretty good option for under $90 with the discount code versus like the Lego one, which can look a bit derpy because of a few of their choices. Like, you know, you can obviously modify yours too, but especially if you're looking for the colorway is really why you would buy this. Now, when it comes to whether or not you should buy this custom Bo-Katan's model, I think the answer, if you're a Bo-Katan fan, is yes. Like, it looks really good. It has a lot of the same good elements from the Lego model that I liked there, but it also adds in landing gear and has a really good looking front end, albeit fragile, but that's the custom trade-off, of course. And then you get the stand, which lets you make it look like it's flying. Like, that looks awesome on display. Now, of course, you're not getting minifigs here for 90 bucks. Code M&R summer deal will get you down to like under 80, which is pretty dang good for a custom set versus the $60 of the Lego set a couple years ago, but it's a custom set. You'll never get the same price as a Lego set. So if this one interests you, I think it's a buy. I'm pretty impressed with this model. Now, there's another more impressive model on the horizon. I wanted it to break. I was gonna say more impressive, I meant more fragile, but then it didn't break. So you'll see, it is fragile though, I promise. I'm not lying. Now, while I can't believe the big one didn't break while I brought it up to the table, I can promise you that it will absolutely break throughout the rest of the review. It's gorgeous, but my God, is it fragile. That's the trade-off. Now, it has 1,868 pieces for $300. That's only $60 more than what Lego charges for a UCS set of a comparable size. So I feel like, again, in the custom world, that's pretty fair. And again, code M&R Summer Deal will get you 15% off that, which brings you straight down to the Lego UCS price. Like, I feel like Republic Bricks is doing pretty good on pricing with these two sets in particular. I know there's some where it's more wishy-washy, but these two are pretty good here. And as far as I can tell, all clean white parts and everything. So things might just be looking up here. I'm thoroughly impressed between the two of these. Now, putting them side by side, you can see just how much larger the UCS one is, and it's got a lot more detail that I'd like to take a look at because it presents a lot less blocky than the playset version. So we'll just set the playset version aside. Yeah, you can see a couple of blasters on the top of the UCS model, just completely absent on the smaller model. Some greebling detail on some snot technique there for the top of the model. Looks pretty good there, very tiled off. And over to the cockpit here, we've got our windows on top as well as the windscreen on the front. And then around the area before we go inside, these are like some of the weakest Lego builds I've seen. These things just fall right off like every time I even look at them. It's annoying. Like, I just want to put a dab of glue on that stud there, attach it to the bottom, and never worry about it again for the rest of my life. Like, it's that annoying to me that I would glue it, which is like sacrilegious when it comes to Lego. But I gotta say, even though it's really weak, it does look good. Now, when it comes to getting inside the cockpit, you just lift the panel off the top, and inside you're gonna find two seats, which I was kind of surprised by, but you can fit one minifig facing forward to pilot the ship and one minifig facing back to man the turret at the rear. So I think that's a really nice amount of space inside of this UCS Bo-Katan Starfighter to be able to fit a couple of characters. Now, surprisingly, there is more interior space in this ship. At the front, you can actually pull panels down to reveal the area that the troops drop out of, as seen in the show. It's a really accurate detail that's really cool. However, figures are really hard, if not impossible, to fit inside. It's a really tight space. And while having the idea there is cool to me, I think it's just one of those things, as I find myself reviewing Republic brick sets, that I wish they would have left out in favor of like trying to strengthen the build slightly. You know, it's a display set that I'm going to put on the shelf, and I'm not actually going to want to be able to access the underside of my UCS Bo-Katan's Gauntlet Starfighter. I'm just not going to, and I feel like that's the case for 99% of buyers. And if that's the case for 99% of buyers, then the producer shouldn't bother. But that's my opinion, and obviously he can make sets differently if he wants to. The one thing that I would keep, though, is the loading ramp on the front. I think both you have to have it the way it is for the angle of the piece, but also it's just a cool feature to be able to drop down and pretend troops are coming out, or pretend that that's how Bo-Katan and Mando are walking off the ship. Like, there's some actual use to that on the front end that could actually work for a display. The other area of the ship just kind of feels a little half-baked to me because of how impossible it is to fit figures inside. So I don't see it as a downside to the set necessarily, because it's not like ruining it, but like having it there doesn't really add anything to me. Now looking at the backside, you can see the turret, which has a couple of cannons pointing out the back, as well as a just nicely shaped backside of Bo-Katan's Starfighter. Like, the design of it looks really, really good, albeit again fragile. And speaking of fragile, the most fragile part of this set, the wings. These I was sure were going to break, and they will break if I lift the model up. Ooh, they are sagging. It is not a strong connection. And that's okay. Again, this is a custom set that's meant to look good, but beware. So I think the only sensible way to display the set is like this in its landed position. They do offer the ability to drop the wings down, and yeah, things happen. I told you it would break. Oh yeah, I forgot. I have some landing gear in my pocket. That's included too. All right, so we're just gonna remove this completely real quick so I can show you. Look, more pieces broke. Wow. So something this ship does so needlessly, yet so beautifully, is the cockpit can still rotate about the center. Like, for no reason, because like you definitely don't need to do this. Like, you don't have a display stand, and even if you did, these wings are not gonna be staying attached to the Bo-Katan Starfighter. There's just no way. So I found it odd that they bothered, but they did bother, and it works really well. There's no actual use to this. Although I will say having this rotate doesn't like do anything bad to it. Like, these wouldn't be any stronger if this didn't rotate, unless they like completely changed the way it attached, I guess, and did it like as a brick built attachment instead of just the single Technic pin. Maybe that could have gone a long way. I don't know, but let's talk about these wings a little bit more. So I mentioned there's some landing gear included, and you just attach that to the bottom of the wing very simply. You can do that for both wings like so, and then flipping it over, breaking another piece off as is normal. We will reattach the wings, and they shouldn't immediately fall off if all goes according to plan. Flip that one over, reattach it. And so you actually can display the Bo-Katan Starfighter like this, although it's not the proper landed position. It still looks pretty cool, and it displays the top of the wings very, very nicely. I just think it has that more imposing, more iconic look that we see in the show when you have these wings or fangs just like straight up. It looks way cooler to me, but like this is totally an option, and having the landing gear included, while just a few pieces, is nice to have. Like, that's just what you'd be looking for, I guess, to have the option, so can't knock it for that. Now lastly, I have a couple really nice design aspects to point out. Firstly, the cut slope used on the edge of the wing for the Fang Fighter is just beautiful, perfectly finishes off that section. And then the engines on this thing, I think, are particularly cool looking. They kind of rise out of the wing, like it just feels organic and looks really cool to me. So I'm a big fan of a lot of the building techniques, even though the structure is pretty weak. So while Bo-Katan has recently had a lot more usage in the Star Wars universe, and LEGO has made a very nice figure, they haven't made her ship yet. I think it's entirely possible they could make versions of her ship in the future, and it would be really cool, but if you're in the market for a custom version of a LEGO Star Wars BO-KATAN'S Gauntlet Starfighter in 2023, these are both very good display options. They will look really beautiful. I mean, you can just look at them and tell that. They are weaker than what an eventual LEGO model could look like, or any LEGO model that they have made, really, but that's the trade-off when it comes to custom sets. They go the extra mile for the look in some areas, which definitely can detract from the strength. So I think these are pretty good. If you do end up deciding to buy one on republicbricks.com, use code MNR Summer Deal, you get an extra 15% off. But yeah, I'm going to continue to display this one back here on my shelf because I think it just looks that good. And this one, I have no idea where to put because it's so big. So leave a like if you enjoyed, and you can check out more LEGO Star Wars custom set reviews on the end screen now.